It's the Caffeinated Cooper Show.
Thank you, everybody at Platinum Planet Records, for putting together that wonderful intro. I absolutely love it, because I get to sit here and I get to see all of my past guests. They mean so much to me, and it's wonderful to see their faces yet again. We do have a new series coming up to end out season 5. So last week of December, which is like in 2 weeks? Where did this year go? I am doing a collection of reunion shows, full interviews of people from the past of season 1, 2, 3, 4, and a few in season 5, actually, from earlier, that will be coming on to grant us a whole nother interview, get us caught up about what they're doing. So be on the lookout for those shows. That will be the 29th and 30th of December, and those are to be advertised. So keep a watch on the Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube, everywhere. Just search The Caffeinated Cooper Show and Elizabeth Cooper. Now, on to tonight's show. I have a lovely sponsor, which I absolutely adore. They've been with me since season 1, Purelift, clean caffeine. So great tasting, energy, convenience in one product. What do they mean by that? This is it. This is it right here. It's a nice stir. It's a straw. You can pour your powder in and recycle it like I do so many times. It goes into anything. If you want to put it into coffee, if you love a Cuban coffee like I do, that I totally need every single day that I just don't get, right? A little bit too much caffeine. But every once in a while, it's lovely to have. This is clean caffeine, and they mean that this is green coffee bean originated. So it has a hint of stevia in it, just to give it a little bit of sweetness, vitamin A, vitamin B complex, unique, portable. You can put this into your gym bag. You can put it into your briefcase, your attaché, whatever you may have that you're carrying around with you. And it goes great in water, juice, adult beverages, anything. It actually sprinkles nicely on top of a muffin. Hint, hint. All right, so where can you buy this? Purelift.com. And let me bring up to the screen all their information so that you can write it down for yourself there. Purelift.com. That's Purelyft.com. You can also get it on Amazon, Best Buy, and Home Depot. Who would have thought? Home Depot. Go pick out some Purelift for yourself and your loved ones, stocking stuffers, right? It is that season. Ho, ho, ho. Today. All right. So I have a really gorgeous guest connected. And I say gorgeous in the complete form of that word. She is beautiful on the inside. She's beautiful on the outside. And so many of you have seen her in film and television. So Jennifer Lyons is connected with me tonight. I'm super, super, super excited. She's connecting from Los Angeles. She got her start as a teenager in the 90s. And you have seen her in so many productions that she's been in. Let's talk about maybe Saved by the Bell, Beverly Hills 90210, California Dreams, Mad TV, Dharma and Greg, Married with Children, that 70s show. Like, do I need to go on? She has been in everything. And if I was a casting director, I'd put her in everything too, because she has a memorable look. She's working on some new stuff she's going to tell us about. She's working on, there's actually a really cool kind of, I don't know if Kitsy is the right name for this series, but it's pretty cool. I watched the trailer. I need to get onto the show and watch it a little bit more. Hitting the Brakes. That's a pretty cool show that she was on. And she is here to talk to us about all of that, how she got started, and her work with our furry little creatures. So without any further ado, I would love to welcome Jennifer Lyons. How are you, Jennifer?
Hi.
There she is.
Hi, Elizabeth. Thank you for having me.
It is wonderful to have you. I feel very, very blessed that you have a few moments for us here on the Caffeinated Cooper Show. I adore you. I have seen you in so many shows. Everybody remembers you as Pam, which is Kelso's girlfriend from that 70s show. That had to be a great, great show to work on. And I'm sure you have so many deep relationships and rich friendships from so many of the projects that you worked on. But I really would love to start our conversation and finding out, how did you begin?
Well, the first half of my life, I was a dancer. I was a ballet dancer, jazz dancer, and like so many athletes and dancers, I tore my knee and didn't know what I was going to do, and decided to try my hand at musical theater. I wasn't the best singer, but I realized that I naturally had sort of the sitcom vibe, and comedy came naturally, even though I don't think of myself as funny. Apparently, I'm quite quirky to other people. um, but uh, yeah, I had a dance agent who sent me in for California Dreams to play a ballerina for 3 episodes, and I booked it. It was, I mean, it's crazy. It was my first audition ever for television, and I booked 3 episodes, and I just, I think I listened to the universe and thought, well, I guess I'm supposed to do this now. And it's funny because every time I walked in a room, I would say, oh, I'm really a dancer. And then there was a point where I wasn't dancing anymore, and I was like, I guess I'm an actress. But it just happened so fast. But I had done musical theater in college, and I had studied with my aunt and uncle who were acting coaches and actors, and my whole family were actors. My grandparents were vaudevillians. I was quite shy, so I don't think they really thought of me as, the one to carry the torch, but it kind of happened that way.
Wow.
So yeah, and I booked California Dreams. Then I think my second TV show might have been Married with Children. I was just sort of like this complete fish out of water, and just went with it and did my best.
I have a picture up here of you on Married with Children. You were Bud's girlfriend, and we
Yes.
all remember the show. I think this was one of the first shows in the 90s that came out that really had a bit of that spice to it. It was more adult than many of the other shows that we were used to in the 80s. And so the 90s put their own little curveball on television, on sitcoms, and it was really very widely watched. So you must get recognized for a lot of the shows that you did in that era. But I want to go back to, I did have a question while you were speaking, which was, since you booked your first audition right out the gates as a ballerina, tell us a little bit about learning the craft underneath your aunt and uncle, and were they in the business as well, or were they just teachers?
Well, I do want to start with my grandparents because I think that was a huge influence. So most people probably know what vaudeville was, but just in case, this was before TV. The singer, dancer, actors, hoofers, show people, on the road, and they just had this incredible energy, and sort of a Dick Van Dyke energy was what my grandpa had. And I think everyone in the family had that sort of, like, everything was like, worthy of a song or a dance. And so I think a lot of it comes from them. A lot of my success comes from them as well, and having an optimistic outlook on life, and being able to light up a room when you have to. Then my aunts and uncles were child actors, and my aunt went on to act as an adult. She's a musical theater actress still. She married my uncle, who is a very, very famous actor and one of the best actors I think that's ever lived, James Best. Yeah. And they both had an acting school in Florida, and I went and studied when I was, the poor little injured dancer, lost, and his way of teaching was no joke. He was the funniest, sweetest guy on earth. Of course, played Roscoe on The Dukes of Hazzard, but boy, he was trained really well by the studios. He was under contract with the studios. He taught me things that other acting teachers have never taught me, like eye entrances and very, very technical, old school camera training. It was very important to him. I think he believed that a lot of people don't teach that kind of thing anymore because it's all about realism. But but that old school way it's why we find certain people so intense, right? And mesmerizing. My aunt is just fantastic. She's a force of nature, and she was also one of my teachers. And just is so organic and teaches how to be very organic and has a really good eye and is a very good coach. And she's a phenomenal singer, which I'm trying to become. So that's sort of my background. That's all those things came together to lift me out of a very dark space, because I had danced since I was 3 and really felt like I had lost my identity at that age. I was a competitive dancer and toured. So it really lifted me up.
Oh my goodness. So let's go back to some of the training that your aunt and uncle helped you acquire. And
Yes.
as you were mentioning James Best, he taught you some of the old school skills. What are some of the old school skills that you wish were still taught today that are still so valuable today?
It's funny because I notice so much having trained with him. I mean, I know all my bad habits for sure. They're so some of the things that really bother me are, he taught us to look at the down camera eye so that you're not looking at the whites of someone's eye the whole time when it's a 2 shot, right? You stare at the eye that's closest to the camera. And I notice, people go back and forth from eye to eye to eye to eye, and it's something that makes me insane. And I don't think people notice that, but I do because of that training. I notice the shadows. I mean, it's really just these very detailed things. They call them gobles. I learned all the old school lingo for all those things. Gobel is a shadow. And I'll notice other actors get shadows on people, and I'm like, oh my gosh. But to really answer your question, I mean, I think it would just have been spectacular. Sometimes I think I was born in the wrong era, but to have been under contract with a studio, and they would just go to work daily, and one day they'd be learning how to ride horses, the next day they'd be on a film, the next day they'd be learning how to dance the tango, the next day they'd be on a TV show. They would learn dialects. And I mean, nowadays you have to be practically independently wealthy to learn all these things that made them so well-rounded, and they were so good at them. But all that stuff costs a lot of money here in Los Angeles. So that to me would have been the coolest thing as far as like the old school training. I mean, they didn't mess around. Nothing was by accident. When you read diaries of Marilyn Monroe, and I mean, her walk was not an accident.
Right.
The way she spoke was very different on camera than when she was off camera. Everything was perfected. And we're in a different era. Everything's much more about reality. It's much more casual. And I love old Hollywood. So I like the formal training.
I love old Hollywood as well. And I think looking at it and going, oh my gosh, this digital age that we're in, where if production has to do a 4th take, they'll do a 4th take,
Right.
Where then in Marilyn Monroe's days and Betty Davis, and, just going back and back and back. I mean, my goodness, you really had to nail it that one time.
Oh yeah. You're costing the studio a fortune, right?
Right. Yeah. So with your acting career really taking off in the 90s and booking out so many different shows, what was, and if there was, a moment where times were changing and it was changing away from what your aunt and uncle had experienced on set? Did you have that moment to where it's like, oh, wait a minute, this style is changing, the technology?
Yeah, there were some things that it started to happen in the early 2000s that made it an end of an era, and it was very sad to me. I loved the 3-camera sitcom, of course, started by Lucy and Desi Arnaz, and it was the feeling of the audience there and the reaction of the audience that made it so fun. And when you did a TV show, you did it like a play. You ran it all the way through.
Yeah.
And that started to go by the wayside. As much as I like The Office, it sort of did. I want to say that was the point where TV started to completely change. Everything was one camera, slapstick, heightened comedy, besides maybe SNL still, but kind of changed. It became very dry and sarcastic and underplayed, and one single camera. And single camera is, you probably know, but is not shot in front of an audience, and it's shot like film, where you go in and you shoot your scene probably about 50 times, and then you go and you sit in your trailer for 4 hours, and then you come back out and you shoot whatever else. And as much as the magic is still there while you're shooting and enjoying the other actors and everyone, it's just not the same as those old 3-camera sitcoms. And I truly miss that.
That is a huge point. I love comedy. I love performing comedy. And I think, more than the money, it's the laughs. Like that's what you're after. That's how you've hit every part of what you need to hit in your delivery, in your timing.
Right.
It's the laughs.
The endorphins. It's really the endorphins that you're after. And when you feel that, it's a drug. I mean, that's why people get into comedy. I think it really feels good.
It feels so good. So out of the lineup of shows, and I know I don't have them all because you have just a billion credits, and everybody go take a look at Jennifer on IMDb if you haven't already. But is there a favorite? I mean, I know, like I had said, that 70s show and Married with Children, like we know all of these shows, 90210, and what was your favorite?
The easiest one for me, the sillier, the goofier, I have 2 favorites. It really, and they're not by far, things that people remember, but I like to be very silly. I love slapstick. I like old comedy. I love Lucille Ball. She's my spirit actor, and we have the same birthday. Action was a show that I did. I think I did 3 episodes. I think there were 4 for me, but it got canceled. And that was like 2002. And I got to work with Buddy Hackett, who was like, a legend, right? I remember hearing my grandparents talk about him, and I just felt like they would be so proud of me that I was, doing a scene with Buddy Hackett. And the best part of that is I got to wear a fat suit. And not many people get that chance. And the fascinating thing about the fat suit, besides the fat jokes and all that, right, was that people on set treated me completely different when I put that fat suit on. And it was like this fascinating experiment where all the guys on the crew were like joking around and so much goofier with me and fun, and like, I don't know. It's just, I remember going to the commissary and like sitting in my fat suit eating, and I was like, this is such a cool experience, It was very silly. It was a very silly show, but I loved that. And then one of my other roles that was my favorite was when we got to fly to Romania for 2 months and shoot in a castle where Vlad Tepes was actually kept Vlad the Impaler for a couple weeks at one point. He was imprisoned there, and I got to play 2 characters. And I had a very silly character, Lynn, that I played in 3 movies. They were teen movies, the Dorm Days movies. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to do this character again. It's hard to kind of bring her out again because she's just so kind of sad. But they gave me another role to play where I was possessed and I got to be a 15th century sorceress. And I love period movies and corsets and, you know, these very dramatic actresses, which I've never really been. So it gave me a chance to play both of those, the silly, you know, high-voiced girl, and then I learned the Romanian accent, which was a challenge, and you know, brought my voice down and was very powerful, and that was really fun for me to be something so different. Oh, I forgot to say about Action. What was so funny is she was like so naughty, and she was like this actress that was like, oh, I'm so innocent. But then you find out she was in porn, and like she was just so full of it, and she was an out of her mind actress. And I thought, oh, this is gonna be fun. I've known a lot. I mean, I'm not, but I've known a lot. So anyway, those were 2 really cool experiences.
Those are super cool. I mean, shooting in Romania, my goodness, that has to be a wonderful culture just to immerse yourself into when you have your time off, let alone shooting there. I mean, the period pieces are great. The costumery and
I was single then, and I didn't have any time off because I shot almost every single day. But I had like a mad love affair with this like long black-haired boom operator. So there was that.
There's that. Now, we've been talking about filming in the 90s and the 2000s. What are you doing currently? I do have a short list. That's not right. Not a short list.
Don't trust me, it's short right now.
Like I've broken it down to my short list on my piece of paper, but it's a very long list of things that you've been working on. I know COVID has thrown, you know, just a monkey wrench into everything. And I want to talk about that in just a moment, if you don't mind, elaborate a little bit about what the sets are like for today on a COVID set. But before we get to that, what are some of the favorites that you've worked on in the past couple of years? How about we go there?
Well, I want to bring up the new one because that was really fun. That was a really fun experience. I can't really say too much because it's not airing yet. It airs in January, and it's very exciting. I mean, I did 2 episodes, so you know it's not that much, but it was such a funny experience because of COVID. I had to have a kissing partner, and they asked me, do I have someone I can kiss on set that I feel comfortable with? Because otherwise they were going to have to hire an extra. And I guess I can say it out loud. It's not actually publicly known, but I got married 2 months before COVID. So we haven't had a wedding, but so technically I have a husband. So I said, well, my husband is in IT, but you know, I think he'll be okay to do that, you know. And oh my God, I wish I could get into the whole thing, but I don't think I can tell you everything that happens in this scene. Oh my gosh. But he came out in this robe and he was all ready for his close-up, and it was hilarious. And so he got to be my co-star for a scene.
No way.
And I mean, that's what they're doing with COVID. I think they're not hiring a lot of guest stars. They're keeping the cast small and testing everyone and just keeping the pod really small. And then, of course, we had to test every morning. And I tested, actually, I don't think I had to test 3 times, but for some reason they sent me 3 times before I even started shooting. And then every single morning. And then they had this lanyard on me, and they had watches too. And if you got within 6 feet, it would light up red. And so you had to stay 6 feet from everyone. And then they would take it off right before you shot.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. It's
I
universal. That was a universal.
That's
Yeah.
universal. Okay. I've heard bits and pieces from so many different sets of what they're doing and how many tests are required and quarantines and all this kind of stuff. So take us through a little bit. What is it like to work on a COVID set? You had just,
I'm sorry, I
told us
jumped
about the
ahead.
lanyards that keeps everybody 6 feet apart. Like, that's genius. That really has got to help, especially for insurance reasons, for production. That really does, if you're glowing red, like, that's a problem. So that's easy for a PA to go, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was really smart. We should all do that in real life.
So what are you noticing on the COVID sets? I've heard all kinds of things that you have to test, 6 or 7 times before you're on set. Like, what's the biggest change? And I'm trying not to make that too basic of a question.
Yeah. No, it's all a weird time. It's such a strange time, especially for someone who was in this business like in the 90s. I mean, I can imagine if you're even older than that. First of all, the Metoo movement, and I don't want to get too into that because it can be very controversial. Clearly, that had to happen. Everything's gotten so sensitive, and it's not as fun. COVID's taken a lot of the fun out of things, and everyone's so careful not to. I don't know. I mean, I always think actors, we're all a little crazy and we're fun and we're off color. And I come from an era where, the comedians were super off color and it was okay because they made fun of everyone. I mean, I'm a huge South Park fan. So without saying too much, it's just not a fun time. And I hope we get past some of this and make the best of it while we can. But I miss hugging people, and actors, we're close talkers and we get, we're really too handsy and used to hugging and, getting really close to people very fast. So this is all probably very hard for us the most.
I would agree with you. Yes, absolutely. It takes a lot, and it's each cast family is exactly that. It's a cast family, and you really, really get to know who you're working with as a family member. So that's a great point. The hugging and you're right. Close talking. Like, there's no other better way to explain that.
We have no sense of space because obviously when you shoot, you have to be like right here with somebody, and that's not normal for other people. And how are you, you have to COVID test because you're going to get whatever this person has.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So I do have another question about staying motivated. And it's very, very obvious to take a look at you and to just look at your headshots, your Getty images. Over the years, you haven't changed. How do you stay so motivated? How do you stay fit and healthy? Like, what is your secret?
Genetics, I think. No, I should bring my mom over. My mom is with us, and she's 79 and she's phenomenal. I mean, I'm so blessed if I even have any of this woman's genetics. I live a really healthy lifestyle. I think a lot of it, I was a dancer, and so I became obsessed with working out. Ever since I couldn't dance, around 18, I still worked out constantly, even in horrible pain because I have a messed up knee. I became, when I was younger, I had problems with food. Being in ballet, I was sort of had an eating disorder, and I was sort of obsessed with food and hated. It was a love-hate relationship. I changed that sort of addictive behavior to finding the ways to be healthiest. And really all this stuff comes from vanity. I think being young, I just wanted to be as pretty as I could be, and I knew if you were healthy, you would look your best, you know. And I don't barely drink. I'm just a pretty darn healthy person. And we try to laugh a lot. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but
I think all those are fantastic answers.
exfoliate. That's I think I was just telling my mom, I gotta exfoliate everything every day. Everything. So yeah, I'm sort of cosmetic obsessed, as far as skincare obsessed, and you know, all that stuff. Yeah.
Well, I think all those things help, you know. And it's so interesting. It seems like a lot of people who were teenagers in the 90s, myself included, you know, the body image issues coming off of the 80s and into the 90s, that was a big thing. I mean, I've mentioned it as well. You know, I hit a combination of anorexia with bulimia, and neither one of it was too severe. But it was because of what was in. It was like a stick. That was it.
A stick with big boobs.
We were.
It's such a different time, isn't it? Or it's all about the butt now.
It's totally about the butt and the curves and the thicker thighs. And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like, oh my gosh, where was this when, you know, I went from 10, a little rod child, to 12 years old of woman body. And I couldn't stand it.
Oh, you're beautiful. That's so sad, isn't it? I think about some of my friends that went through that. And oh my God, I had the best butt when I was in ballet. And I think about how I hated it because it was so round. And now I'm like, now I look like I should have looked in the 80s, you know. But because I've gotten thinner, actually. It's funny. It's just, it's funny to watch the times change. And honestly, I'm so glad to see so many nationalities working so much more. But it's interesting because I'm working a lot less. And you know, it's for many reasons, but there used to be the blonde cheerleader and everything. That's not happening. It's a changing time, changing demographics in LA, especially in the market. And it is interesting how things have evolved just so dramatically. It's just a totally different time. They went real looking people hosting for the host of the commercial. You can be too pretty, and even the guys, they don't want a pretty guy. They want a guy that looks like he rolled out of bed. I mean, it's just, God, it's different, isn't it? I grew up wanting to be like on Dynasty, and you know, the men of Dynasty are the ones that should be doing the game shows, and it's just different. And there's a lot of good happening though too. You know, I see a lot of friends working that wouldn't have worked before as much.
Well, I agree with you. Absolutely. I love to look at life. You know, I'm a people watcher. If I just had, you know, if I tomorrow was 85 years old and had a little hobby, it would be sitting on a park bench watching people. And so I think the mix of everybody is nice to see in our shows and films, and see a mix of everybody. And with some people that maybe aren't getting the roles as they used to get, they're producing some of their own things to stay relevant. Do you think that in the future, or have you already started on producing some of your own work?
Oh gosh, right now I've been figuring out how to be a stepmom. I've been producing that in the house. You know, it's interesting about me is I like to show up and create. And I think as I get older, I am a bit of a control freak. And I think that may be something I may get more interested in. But up until now, you know, I do so many different things. I love to show up and do my job and go home and not really live to work. I just sort of work to live, you know. So I've been lucky to be able to do that and make a living, you know what I mean? Just show up, do it, and go.
Right.
I Yeah, it's funny. I'm such a performer to the bone. I think two of my best friends are they're behind the scenes, and I see, man, I see that they work so hard, and they have certain detail oriented skills that I don't always have. I would collaborate really well with them because I'm sort of this big picture Leo person where I have these like great ideas, but then I need someone to like take it step by step. So if I did that, it would probably have to be a collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's so many different moving pieces, right?
Yeah.
So many different moving pieces. It's very time intensive, as we all know. I have a game. I'm wondering, do you have a second to play a game to maybe take a break from the conversation, then we'll bring it back? Okay. This game is called So. It's a cool little party game. It's available now on Amazon, and you can actually get it now for your stocking stuffers if you're interested. Okay. So it's called So, a collection of questions for deeper discussions.
Ooh, okay.
If I ask you a couple from the deck?
No problem.
All right, let's see. The first one says, describe a moment that made you feel like a real grown-up.
A moment, though. Wow, a moment.
I know. Let's see. I'll work with you. Let me see if I can think of what my answer would be. A moment that made me feel like a real grown-up. If I was to think early on, like that first moment probably would have been pumping the first tank of my own gas.
Oh, wow.
Because I'm young, young.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
wow. You were young when you felt like a grown-up. Wow. I'm impressed. Gosh, see, this is my problem. I don't feel... I think I didn't feel like a grown-up until the words, these are my stepchildren, came out of my mouth. I think I'm like a big kid. I have terrible Peter Pan complex. My mother calls me the woman child. I play, I'm kind of a free spirit. But yeah, I don't even remember the first time I said it, but I just remember almost like, oh my God, my stepchildren. I felt like I needed like a martini and my stepchildren. I don't know. It just was so bizarre coming out. Or even saying my husband, which I didn't say for a while because it was a secret. I think this experience through COVID is the first time I felt like an adult. I know that's crazy, especially my age, but I moved in with my husband and his children. Well, we got a house together. And 2 months later, I was at home with them, helping them homeschool, cooking 3 meals a day, doing laundry, whatever else is. And I've only ever taken care of myself. I've had boyfriends. I never was married before. I just felt like, who am I? And who stole my body, and like, where did I go? And no, it's wonderful and it's nice, but it's been a transition, and it's definitely made me feel grown up.
That is a huge transition.
Yeah,
that is huge.
Yeah,
that was a freak out moment for me. I can't say that I necessarily felt like an adult, but when I had my first daughter, and the doctor said, well, mommy, or called me mommy or something, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. And I had to put it together, and I'm like, Elizabeth, you just birthed a human. What
wow.
Who's going to call you? I guess that would be another moment, but that was like a whole mix of different emotions.
Oh, I bet. Wow.
So the next question is, what is one thing your exes probably miss about you?
My omelets.
That's a good answer.
Oh yeah, no, hands down.
Okay.
I'm known for those.
Oh man, that is a good answer. Mine was very generic. It was gonna be my hugs.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I don't doubt that one.
All right, let's do one last one. Come up with a new Olympic sport in which you would definitely medal.
Hula hoop.
Okay. I was gonna say squats, but I mean that's like even the Highland Games guys, like they do that. I wouldn't medal against them.
Well, females, you would.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
Are you Scottish?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm not. I'm Northern Irish and Spanish. That's with little bits of other stuff. A little bit of Viking, a little bit of Jewish, a little bit of little bits of stuff. Well, that was fun. That's the game. So that would be a fun after.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that
well,
game.
thank you. That was nice to be able to mix up different questions in there, and the cards read it for me. All right, so I want to get on to your animal activism, and I know you have a lot of kittens there at home with you.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about what do you do? How can we follow you? And what projects are you working on this winter?
Well, one of my best friends has a cat rescue, and really, I don't want to take any credit because this woman is night and day chopping cats and fixing them and releasing them, trap and release. She's just amazing, and we took on some kittens this summer, and we ended up with 2 of them. This is my problem, why I can't foster. But I used to try to do my part. Things have changed a bit because of COVID, but I would go to Animal Hope and Wellness and walk the dogs as much as I could. They need, there's a lot of dogs brought here from China that are taken from the meat trade, saved. And that became important to me. I love dogs, but I haven't had dogs since I was a kid because cats are just easier. But anytime I can, I give to charities. So I don't actually have one company I work for right now, but it is something I plan to do in the future. I work for the charity Angels, and we actually raise money for all sorts of charities. We run the entire fundraising at live events and do the auctions and sell, try to get as much as we can to help, whether it's, children, animals, adults. We do a lot of different fundraising for all sorts. But yes, that's something I see in my future more. I'm an animal lover through and through. I like animals more than people most of the time.
They are easier sometimes. And they receive our jokes a whole lot better.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They're just so honest,
Mm-hmm.
I wish people were like that.
This is true. This is very true. So I would love to know, what breeds do you have there at home with you?
Oh, they're all rescued. So we have a beautiful, we call her the queen, Tiger Lily. She is a brown tabby, but I like to think she's kind of what do they call it? A spotted Mao. She has polka dots.
Beautiful.
They're all tabbies. I have a red tabby who's a classic tabby with the swirl, the bullseye, which I think he's more ticklish right in the middle of the bullseye. That's Tiki Schweinsteiger. And then we have 2 kittens, Bono Bocelli and Ziggy Stardust, after all of our favorite singers. And Duffy, my friend's aunt, passed away, and we have her Siamese, beautiful white red flame. I think it's red flame or red point Siamese. But he doesn't like anybody. He hates everybody. So he lives in the princess room, which is my stepdaughter's room, and we visit him all day long. So that's the deal. Yeah, they're not purebreds. He is, but no, they're amazing.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time with me this evening, and congratulations on the marriage.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And what is the show? They changed the title As We See It in January.
As We See It in January. Well, thank you so much for releasing the name. We are definitely going to be looking up As We See It to be released in January. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
I can't thank you enough, especially around the holiday season. It is very, very difficult to steal away a little bit of our time away from our families. So really and truly, we appreciate you 1,000% on the show.
Total pleasure. You're awesome. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We'll have a wonderful holiday, and we'll see you again soon.
All right. Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye. Oh my goodness. I love that interview. She is so genuine. She's so grounded. I actually never got a chance to talk a little bit more about how she stays grounded. I would love to have her on the show again soon. And we will have to do that in the spring once the show is released in January. So everybody, as always, I want to thank you so much for watching the show. Go out there and go stuff some stockings with Purelift. It will uplift and energize your entire family. There you have it, purelift.com. Everybody, we are always, always blessed. You are blessed, and I love you. Until next time, I will see you very, very soon. It will be after Christmas. So Merry Christmas to you and yours, and we'll see you very soon. Bye, guys.